So let's start right off with the system setup. Now, the first thing we need to do on the desktop is to ensure that Microsoft.NET Framework is installed. To find the .NET Framework versions by viewing the registry. So I can get to my registry by clicking on my Start menu and in the Run panel typing regedit. Not all of you will have access to your registry, and that's because it might be locked down based on your IT security profiles. Now within the registry editor, we need to open up a subkey, and it's under HKey, local machine, software, scrolling down to Microsoft, and scrolling down to net, Net Framework Setup that is, and NDP. And here you can see that I do have version 4.0 of the .NET Framework already installed on my machine. Now the installed versions are listed under the NDP subkey, and the version number is stored in the version entry field. For the .NET Framework 4, the version entry is under the client or full subkey under NDP, or under both subkeys. If you do not have Microsoft.NET Framework 4.0, you'll need to download and install that prior to proceeding. Now, information on how to do that is available on the Microsoft website. If you do install the .NET 4.0 framework, you may have to do a reboot before you proceed as well. So, once again, HKey local machine, software, Microsoft, Net Framework Setup, NDP, and I've got the version 4.0 showing right there. Now there is a second step that is required as well, and that's configuring your Internet Information Services. Once again, we go down to the Start, and in the Run area, what I want to do is turn Windows features on or off. And you can see that that comes up. Now you can also find this in your Windows Update dialog if you run Windows Update. When I select that, it opens up my Windows features so that I can turn specific features on or off. Now I want to expand the Internet Information Services key, and underneath that I need to expand the World Wide Web Services, and underneath that the common HTTP features. Now for some of you this might be a little bit scary, but if you have access to this, it's really easy to turn these items on. And once it's opened up, we need to select the default document, directory browsing, HTTP errors, HTTP redirection, and static content. With those items selected, you can click OK. Now, I didn't make a change, so I don't need to reboot. However, if you check this and you do need to make a change, please reboot your system at this stage so that those changes are accepted and we can proceed from here forward. Now for QuickBooks Online of different languages or regions, like French or France, this utility requires that regional setting of the computer comply with the QuickBooks Online settings. So there is an example of computer regional settings when exporting data from QuickBooks Online French version in Canada. If you look at the handouts in the GoToWebinar panel, you'll find the full instructions there with a screenshot as well. Without proper regional setting, the account balances would come in as 0. So to check that, once again we go to Start, and I'm just going to type region and select region. And here we have our formats. So we want to make sure that the formats match, and if we're looking at French Canada, we'd select French Canada there. But we also want to make sure that the administrative matches as well, and we would change the system locale to French Canada in that situation. Now here I'm using English US for both of my formats, and that's going to work out quite fine for me. So I don't need to make any changes, and I'll just click OK. So that's how we set up our system to prepare to download the QuickBooks Online Trial Balance or detailed information so that we can import it into CaseWare.